Hello and welcome to another episode of Practical IT. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the OEM install of Ubuntu Desktop 20.04. This is the beta version. This is not a full release version. That will be coming on April 23rd. But this is the beta version, and it should be fairly stable and provide us with a good look at what we can expect to be coming from the final release. We are going to go through a new virtual machine creation process. Call it Ubuntu OEM 20.04. We're going to give it 2 gigs of RAM, and we'll give it a little bit more room to breathe. We'll give it 15 gigs. All right, then we can go ahead and look at settings. So if you're going to use this on other machines, you may want to opt for just the BIOS install. We are actually going to use the EFI install, and we will change the deployment machine to match this setting when we get to that point. 2 processor cores, we're going to enable PAE NX, 16 megs of video memory, that's fine. Okay, so for the ISO image that we're going to install from, we are going to add, and this is actually on our network, so we'll go to download, ISO, Ubuntu 20.04, and we're going to use the Ubuntu 20.04 beta desktop ISO. Choose network is bridged, and we should be in good shape to start the install. Now, the big thing that's different is when you start the install, you have to be ready to select OEM install instead of letting it boot normally. So we will see if we can capture this. Okay, we do OEM install for manufacturers. This is also applicable for refurbishers. If you are a hobbyist or professional that wants to refurbish and sell or place computers with people, this is a great option for you. And so as you can see, it's doing the disk checking. This is a little bit different than the OEM install from the 1804 LTS version, but this is nicely done so far. I'm actually going to cancel that out, maybe. Or we'll let it go. Nice little spinner they've got there that's different than we've seen in previous versions. All right, so we are starting the OEM install, and we're going to call this beta 20.04. English is fine. Normal installation. We're not going to download the updates, but we will install the third-party software. Continue. And this will take a few moments. I will be back with more commentary when this has reached the next screen of the OEM install. That was faster than I expected. So Our default option here is erase disk and install. There's nothing on the disk, so we're going to say install now. Continue. New York is fine. And so the computer name, this will not stick. The username is OEM, and we'll set a password. This will only be used for the setup process. And when we go to get ready to clone this, that account will no longer exist. The process is really similar, but not exactly the same to a SysPrep on a Windows machine. But this doesn't require quite the number of hoops that you have to perform on Windows. Jumping through the hoops that you have to perform on Windows. Alright, we've reached the end of installation. We're going to restart, and we'll see what's different about this OEM install versus a regular install. And move on from there. I really do like the Ubuntu logo down at the bottom, the spinner that's new with this version. Canonical is really getting the install process and overall operating system refined down real nice at this point. Alright, so it auto logs you in as the OEM user. The big thing that's different here is the prepare for shipping to end user. And you don't want to run this until you've done all the customizations, all the updates that you want to do for your end user. So for instance, if you want to have Google Chrome installed by default, you want to install that before you run that prepare for shipping to end user. If you want VLC set to be the default audio video player, you also do that ahead of time. Any other software you're going to install, this is a great time to do it. This ensures that it's going to be installed, and it can be installed, and basically you're ensuring identical systems are going to roll out off this image. So we are already prompted with software updates. So I'll go ahead and install, ask for the password, authenticate, and that should pop back up here. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video until this has wrapped up its updates. I'll be back in a moment. Alright, so we've got all of our updates done, and before we reboot using this prepare for shipping to end user, I'm going to shut this down and I'm going to clone the VM. That way we can come back to a state where we can run different customizations and run this prepare for shipping script again and be able to avoid having to start over from scratch. So let's shut down the VM. We are going to clone this. Alright, so we are going to boot the clone. So just for the sake of argument, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Ubuntu Software Center, and we're just going to pick a game or something to install, and then we will do the prepare for shipping and restart, and go through the remainder of the new user installation, or out-of-box experience is what they call it in the Windows world. This is interesting, a little bit different here. About Snap Store. So most of this is going to be snaps, I'm going to guess. So let's just go to games and see if this is going to populate for us. So maybe we want to have Zoom installed for our end users. I know that's kind of a dangerous thing to say right now with everything going on and all their security issues. But quite honestly, I would feel more comfortable having a virtual machine running Ubuntu and use that strictly for Zoom than I would feel having it installed on any of my main machines. And if I can actually make this work, that's probably what I'll use this VM for. Okay, so let's do install. Snap. Zoom client has install snap change in process. So that is actually installing, even though it's not really giving us a progress bar of any sort. But we'll see what happens here in a few minutes. Anything else we should have installed? Editors, Pix, Mumble, OBS Studio, Riot. Let's come down to, I don't know, music and audio. Or maybe not. So keep in mind this is beta software. Things are still a little rough around the edges in some places, apparently. But, okay, so what do we got here? Discographer. Things keep bouncing around on me. Zoom client may be done installing now. Okay, so let's look one more time. Music and audio. While that's loading, take a look at our applications. And it does actually list Zoom there. So let's have it install Audacity. If we come down here, we can see its source is the Snap Store. So we'll have that install. And then while that's doing its thing, let's see if Zoom actually wants to launch for us. Oh, looks like it's doing something. That's actually better than what I've seen it do before. Join a meeting. Okay, so I'm happy to report, as much as I dislike Zoom personally, I'm happy to report that this version actually seems to be launching properly. So let's go ahead and close that. Alright, so we've made a couple of customizations. Well, we're going to jump in here. We're going to put Audacity, add to favorites, and Zoom, add to favorites. Not sure if those settings will carry through or not, but we will find out here shortly. Alright, so since this is the clone machine, we're going to go ahead and run this prepare for shipping to end user. Enter password. OEM config will run the next time the system boots. Okay. So from this point, we are going to restart the machine. And this should give us the fresh, out-of-box feeling and experience similar to what you would get from a machine preloaded with Linux from Dell or other manufacturers. And so one of the first things this will do is prompt for a new username and password and your time zone and all that kind of stuff, because the information that was entered on the OEM level may not be the same as what the owner of this would be. So language is English, and again for keyboard, New York. All right. Continue. And it's going to do the remainder of the system installation. And then we'd be ready to do any further customizations that we wanted to do. If we were going to continue using it in VirtualBox, then of course we'd want to add the VirtualBox guest editions. If you're going to run it on a machine with an AMD or NVIDIA graphics card, then you would want to load drivers for those cards at this point. So this will be done here in just a few more moments, and we can move on and see what we've got on our desktop. I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back momentarily. And we're almost to the end of the changes for the brand new user that we added. All right, this should be the final reboot, and we should be ready to roll. Okay, there we go. Okay, so like I said, this is the out-of-box experience. It prompts for online accounts, which we're going to skip. Live patch, we're going to skip. Help improve, it's the VM, so I don't care if we send to canonical. Privacy, we're going to skip, and we're going to say done. So if we look at the installed applications, we do have Audacity here. It did not save it in favorites, but we can add it back quite easily. And then come down here and do the same with Zoom. That is what you can expect from the OEM install of Ubuntu 20.04. I doubt there will be many changes between now and the full release on the 23rd of April 2020, but there could be a few minor tweaks or refinements. On that note, this was not meant to be a full review, but more of a look at the process of doing an OEM install. If you're giving an older machine to a friend or family member, if you're donating it, if you're just trying to help somebody out during this global pandemic, this would be a great thing to do. Zero cost. You know, if you have an extra webcam, you can, package everything up and basically give them something that they can plug in, hook to an internet connection, and they can be online and ready to communicate with people without having to know the inner workings of Linux or any of that, because you've taken the extra steps of providing some of that software already pre-installed for them. And that is going to bring us to the end of another video. If you like the video, please consider subscribing, give a thumbs up, and click that bell icon for notifications of future videos. I also invite you to leave comments down below. I do read and moderate each and every one of those comments. And as long as the comment is something productive and not nasty, then you will find within a day or two of writing your comment, you will actually see it live on the video. Until next time, I thank you once again for watching. Be safe during this time of upheaval, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.